Action Research 1, and this is video 5, I believe. They're very short to make sure they fit on YouTube, so just hang with me on clicking through these. The next part is about Action Research questions. We've kind of looked at the focus that you wanted to use to help you determine a direction to go, but now we want to look at how to identify a specific research question. The specific research question can help you identify the variables under consideration and determine the type of data that you will need to collect. You should consider several factors that could be associated with the investigation of any question. And one of the things I really want to caution you on is that you want to make sure that there are no potential political or personal pitfalls that could be associated with your investigation of that particular question. You wouldn't want to put your job in jeopardy. You would not want to get things going where school boards are involved. You really want to just focus, I would recommend, on something in your particular classroom and that you have particular and specific control over. I would think about, am I interested in something specific, such as a particular intervention, or is it something more general? And who would be and could be involved in developing the research question? Just me, or should others be included? And for the most part, for this course, it would just be you. Am I asking insider questions or outsider questions? Again, I'm going to suggest for this class that it's basically insider questions that you're asking. And finally, in thinking about how this works, is to make sure you don't ask questions that can be answered with yes or no answers, or that can be answered with data that's already there, or that can be answered within your own limitations, that you really already know the answer. So there's not really any sense doing research in any of those cases. Hopefully that helps you really get your question then pulled together. And we start on the next part, which is really multiple sources of data. How do you pull the data now together that you've got your question going? You want to consider triangulation, and because that's very important in action research, and it means, just think about what that would mean. Triangle always means 3. And this is saying that you would want to use multiple sources of data. Avoid relying on just one single source, or it's hard to collaborate your findings. Triangulation may incorporate at least two or more sources of information, and usually a stronger case can be made if you have at least 3. Discrepancies in the findings derived from the various sources lead to learning for you as the researcher when you try to provide explanations for why there are discrepancies, and then that poses some brand new questions for you. When we think about some research questions and some sources, here's an example. Triangulation for these project research questions. Here's a research question. Can I motivate my distance education students to participate in online discussions? The first data source might be my own reflections. The second data source might be student surveys that I did with you. And the third one might be logs showing student time online. Another question, what is the quality of the discussion online? Data source 1 could be me assessing using a rubric to say what the quality of what I thought your discussion was. Data source 2, again, and this is, you can kind of see the commonality. This data source 2 then goes back to the student. Could be that I ask you to self-assess using that same rubric. Data source 3 could be identification of levels of communication based on coding of the printed discussions. Last thought for a research question, do students feel comfortable expressing their thoughts online? A data resource 1, again, student surveys, which in this particular matrix is me looking, student surveys. 2, interviews with a random sample of students, which is the one that really pulls the students more directly in. And then data source 3 could be online focused discussion in a chat room. We're really talking about just specifically that. That gets us in the thought then of the data collection, some strategies that you might use for collecting this data. You want to think about for how long, who will collect the data, how it will be analyzed, and the findings, how will they be shared. Types of data have been categorized usually in 3 categories called the 3 E's: experiencing, inquiring, and examining. With our time approaching the 10-minute mark, I'm going to stop here, and we'll pick up on these specific ones in the next video. Hang in there, we're going to get through with this.